Well, guess where I am again? You know it, you love it. Oh gosh, I have to be careful. I'm back in my mobile studio. Mobile being literal because I'm in the back of a car, and I'm having to. This actually looks vaguely professional with the way that I'm sat facing my microphone. I've got the pop filter set up. It looks vaguely professional, but also I've decided to set the microphone to the higher gain setting, so it's a lot more sensitive, and that's probably a mistake. But okay, here's the thing I've literally just noticed now as I'm sat recording this episode. I mentioned in a previous episode that inside of my car I have random white pieces of trim. The car is red, but on the inside I decided to just put random white pieces of trim, it's even sparkly. That was the takeaway from that one. I've just now noticed that the same piece of trim that's on the doors in the front of the car is present in the back of the car, but they're black. Why are they black in the back of the car? Black in the back of the car, but white in the front of the car. Every piece should have just been black. It would have looked a lot nicer and a lot cleaner, but I digress. Hello, and welcome back to The Lion's Den. I'm your host, Matt, as always, and today, I'm on car watching duty because I have to try and stop speaking the moment I realise that there's a car coming so that I can easily edit them out. And if any of them do end up in the recording, it'll be because they decided to go through my mid-thought, just decided to drive by. The fun part as well is that where I am currently is parallel to the road that can go 60 miles an hour, so it's dead straight as well, meaning that they can easily hit 60 miles an hour and just whip by and make as much noise as possible. Anyway, I promise that's not the purpose of today's episode. The purpose of today's episode is to talk about my new latest obsession, although kind of ongoing obsession, keyboards. And I don't mean the thing that you play instead of a grand piano, I mean the thing you type on as a computer. Why would you think I meant the thing that you play for musical instruments rather than the thing you use on your computer? Anyway, most people probably don't care about keyboards. As long as it types and doesn't feel like absolute garbage and function incorrectly, people probably don't care. So those of you that are typists probably care a lot more, and then there are the weird people like me on the internet who find the obsession of mechanical keyboards oddly enthralling and have spent probably a little too much time on YouTube watching videos about it. I bought a mechanical keyboard because I'm a gamer. Mainly just because I had an old cheap membrane keyboard that was not very nice. I have money now, or like a couple of years ago I started having like disposable income, so I went out and decided I wanted to buy a mechanical keyboard. I bought one. I was pretty happy, and then the subsequent years I dove down and realised that what I bought was probably not what I want now. You know, as I'm recording this, it's currently 20 to 8 on a Wednesday evening. I thought it was going to be quieter. Clearly not. Clearly I'm wrong. So yeah, the keyboard I currently have, it's perfectly fine. It's nice. I can't complain about it. It's got the mechanical. It's got the R, just R. It's literally the only with the backlight color is red, which was fine at the time. But a little RGB would be nice. But yeah, it's red backlit. It's mechanical. It's made by Logitech. The things that it had at the time that were important to me is it has media function keys on the F row, and it also has a USB port on it, so it makes my setup a little cleaner. Although the stupid thing, as I've now realized, is that the keyboard has two USB plugs. One for the keyboard itself and the lighting, but a second one is just a USB pass-through, so it's just a glorified USB extension cable. So I've not really saved anything by having it on the keyboard itself. But since then, having done some research into the different kind of key switches and the different layouts, and having had a job that requires constant typing, I've kind of figured out what I do and don't like and perhaps would want in a future keyboard. The main thing that people that don't know mechanical keyboards is the different types of switches. So there's three main overarching categories, which are split into two. Well, there's two categories, and then the second one is split further. You've got linear switches, which just press straight down. It's literally what linear means. There's no differentiation between the top of the press and the bottom of the key press. Or I suppose it would be called a keystroke. The second type is tactile switches, where there is a physical point along the keystroke where you'll actually hit a bit of resistance and you have to push through, and that's what they call the bump. And you can feel it as you're pressing the key. And then within tactile, there are just standard tactile switches, and then there are clicky tactile switches. Now clicky, as the name suggests, makes a more audible noise so that you know you've actually pressed it. If you've ever heard a Razer gaming keyboard, I'm pretty sure they are tactile clicky switches because they're very loud and you can certainly definitely feel when you're pressing the keys. The kind of switch I have currently in my keyboard is a linear one, which is what supposedly most gamers like. It's a lot less fatiguing, I suppose, and nicer to play like first-person shooters with. I don't play first-person shooters. The only games I play on my computer currently are racing games and rhythm games, both ours. And yeah, it's nice, and I'm pretty good at typing on it. But to be honest, after having tried some different keyboards again in computer shops, I kind of prefer the tactile feel. Like the Razer ones feel nicer to me than the linear switches, but I hate the Razer ones because they're just too much. So I kind of want something in between. So what I've realized is I probably want a tactile switch, but without the click. That's kind of where I sit. So that has then led me down to the whole rabbit hole that is custom keyboards, because you can do everything with a custom keyboard. Customizing a keyboard is just as deep as customizing a computer and just as expensive as buying a full custom computer. It's actually insane. And that's the problem to me, is that the amounts of money you want to be spending on a custom keyboard to get it like really nice are a little bit scary, honestly. They can be hundreds of pounds. Yeah, hundreds. Not just 100, like multiple hundreds of pounds. It's kind of a little scary, not gonna lie. But honestly, the things that people make are just... It's a work of art, to be perfectly honest. From the sound to the visual, to I imagine the feel, because obviously I'm watching a video, so I have no idea what it feels like. It's curious, I suppose, is the best word I can think of right now. It kind of like hits that part of your brain that goes, this is weird, but I'm interested and I want to know more. Especially because it's relevant to most people. Most of us, if not all of us, in the modern world will use a computer probably daily, and a lot of us are using computers for our jobs, so it's the thing you interact with a lot of the time. And I'll be honest, it was the same thing for mice. I mean, custom mice are not a huge thing because you can't really build your own mice, but you can buy custom ones. But buying a really nice gaming mouse, to me, was just so nice. It was such a nice step up to have that. This is not a car. This is a motorbike. I'm leaving that one in. That was adorable. That was louder than the car as well. Fun that. So yeah, the step up from like a Rego mouse to a gaming mouse was really nice. And I mean, mine's not like super duper flashy in terms of like its aesthetic. Yeah, it's got the RGB, which was quite nice, honestly, just to have it cycling through the rainbow colors. But the actual design of it's quite clean and it feels really nice. It tracks really nice. I'm really happy with it. So stepping up to a mechanical keyboard when I did was also a nice change, but I'm kind of now at that stage where I want to go a little bit further. The biggest thing for me, which comes back to the type of games I play, is I probably want a TKL layout, or as it stands for, is 10 keyless keyboard layout. So what that means basically is it doesn't have a numpad, which is weird because the number pad has more than 10 keys on it. So why is it called a 10 keyless? I don't know. Maybe they mean 10%. Because the thing is, once you go down from a 10 keyless, they then start talking about keyboards in terms of percentages. Like there's a 75%, a 60%, I think there's an 85%, I think there's even a 50%. You know, at some point you've just got like the A key. So yeah, I think a 10 keyless would be probably ideal for me at home, mainly because when I'm playing spin rhythm, like I'm flicking the mouse quite a lot and quite all over the place, and I just don't have the physical room for where I want the keyboard and where I want my mouse to be ergonomic with my arms and stuff. Like I keep bashing into the keyboard, and if I didn't have the numpad, there'd be more space and I'd be fine. So, and plus there'd just be less on the desk. I think it would look nice. There's that. I also, like I said, I want a tactile switch, but without the click, because honestly, whilst the noise is nice, when it's like late at night and I'm trying to type, I'm typing fast and therefore I type kind of heavy and it's making a lot of noise. And the keyboard I've got currently, like the switches themselves are not particularly quiet, and then the plastic keycaps hitting the bottom are not quiet, and then there's like a slightly metallic ring, which I don't mind, but it's noisy and it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But there are people out there that have figured out ways of fixing this, but I'd like to just buy a keyboard that fixes these problems. But then that leads me to my next problem, is what do I do with the keyboard I've got currently? Normally I replace technology when it gets old or broken or obsolete or to a point where it doesn't function. This functions perfectly fine. It's a keyboard keyboard. Unless you're like Hulk smashing your keyboard, it's not gonna break it anyway. So I don't quite know what to do, and I'm too lazy to sell things. It's really bad. I'm really lazy, and I can't be bothered to go through the whole process of selling items to people or taking them somewhere to get. Because like that's the toss up, right? Is if you sell it privately, you get the most money, but it's the most hassle. Whereas if you sell it to like cheap company, electronics company, you'll get less hassle but less money. And there's that thing in the back of my mind that doesn't want to relinquish something for a worse value when I know I can get more. It's really dumb. It's really dumb because then that means I end up hoarding stuff. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So I might end up donating it to my dad because see, the thing is, my dad has a like little personal computer in his quote unquote workshop, which is just the garage. So it might be nice of him to have like a decent keyboard, but then it will get absolutely destroyed in there. So maybe not the best idea. And it's also wired, so it's not ideal for my parents' study either. It's just I'd have no way to get rid of this keyboard without it just ending up in my cupboard. So, first world problems, you know. Hopefully this episode doesn't sound like garbage, and hopefully I've piqued your interest. Piqued interest, that's the word I was looking for. Piques your interest, this. Maybe I've piqued your interest about keyboards. So I'd suggest just, you know, looking up keyboards on the internet. Just look up like a keyboard sound test. That's kind of what slipped me into it first, and then you end up down the rabbit hole where they're shoving tape and pillow stuffing inside of keyboards. I'm not joking, that's what they do. That's what they do in the search of the best. So anyway, you know this is YouTube, right? So I want you to like, I would like you to subscribe, and I'd like you to scream at your friends to come and listen to the weird British man talking about absolutely nothing. Anyway, I hope you've all enjoyed listening, and I'll see you all next week. Bye!